Thank you for listening to Radio Free Idyllwild, the official music and podcast station for Idyllwild California, the San Jacinto Mountains, and beyond.
Since its opening in 2015, Faro Restaurant has been one of Idyllwild's leading restaurants, applauded for both its gracious service and casual take on fine dining. Nestled in the heart of the beautiful alpine village of Idyllwild, California, Faro is more than just great food and elegant surroundings. It's a treasure destination not to be missed. Faro Restaurant, an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema. It's Italian, elevated.
The Riverside County Film Commission and the Riverside County Economic Development Agency are proud to sponsor the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema. With a region of over 7,300 square miles, the Riverside County Film Commission works closely with all 28 cities located within its borders, as well as state and federal agencies, to help streamline your production and ensure its success, assisting with everything from permitting in all jurisdictions to finding just the right locations for your shoot and many other production necessities. Riverside County, the perfect fit for your next film production.
Welcome to the world of New Spirit Vacation Homes, Idyllwild's premier vacation home rental provider. Whether it be an escape from the heat, a visit to the snow, or for the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, we have the perfect vacation rental for you. New Spirit Vacation Homes is distinctive from any other vacation rental company, not only because our guests have the broadest choice of luxurious homes to choose from, but also because we ensure guests' expectations are met and they have the most enjoyable and fulfilling getaway. New Spirit Vacation Rentals, an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Film Festival. Find us at newspiritvacationhomes.com.
You're listening to The Stephen Savage Show on Radio Free Idyllwild. And now, here's your host, film and television director, Stephen Savage.
Thank you, Nikki. How you doing, everybody? Savage here with you for yet another episode of the Stephen Savage Show, the official podcast of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, coming to you as always from Cranium Wheel Studios at Chateau Esteban in the beautiful alpine village of Idyllwild, California, just a couple hours east of Los Angeles, but a world away at nearly 6,000 feet, high atop majestic Mount San Jacinto, and overlooking the great Coachella Valley. And as always, today's episode is brought to you by our official lodging sponsor, Talk Eats Pines Retreat, Idyllwild's premier venue for weddings, family reunions, romantic getaways, or just about any large or small gathering or event. So if you're coming to Idyllwild for a spring or summer getaway, be sure to book your lodging at Talk Eats Pines Retreat. And you can check them out at talkeatspines.com. That's TAHQUITZ, talkeatspines.com. All right, so as I told you in the short introduction from the last archived podcast, I've been on hiatus while I'm in pre-production on my newest feature film, Monkey Grip. An opportunity came my way to interview a man I've admired for a couple of decades now, at least, and as he is on summer break from his duties as head of the jazz program at the prestigious Idyllwild Arts Academy, the High School of Performing Arts here in Idyllwild. I jumped at the chance and asked if this man would come into the studio today and let me steal some time so that my listeners can get a chance to learn more about this amazing man and his life. He's one of the best known and best loved jazz musicians in the world, with a resume that reads like an historic and continuing story of musical greatness. He's toured with and or recorded with some of the most legendary musicians, not only in jazz, but in contemporary music in general. People like Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock and Roberta Flack, Donny Hathaway, and the list just goes on and on. And he was the driving force behind the world-renowned Idyllwild Jazz Festival. And as I mentioned earlier, he heads up the jazz program at the Idyllwild Arts Academy. And now I'm honored to announce that he's agreed to come on as a member of our grand jury at the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema. And he's also one of the most modest human beings on the planet. So before I embarrass him any further, please let me welcome into the studio today musician, composer, and educator Dr. Marshall Hawkins. Marshall, my longtime friend, welcome to the podcast.
Steve, thanks for the invitation. This is epic.
Well, I'm super honored to have you in the studio today. So much so that, as I said, I'm jumping in here during the show's hiatus simply because I had this opportunity to do an interview with you. And there's a question that I like to ask people of your success level, and that is, Marshall Hawkins, when you wake up in the morning, do you ever look back at just how much you've accomplished in your life and your career and how amazing that is?
Interesting question. Under the auspices of humbleness, I would say probably not, because the only thing I can think of is, what can I do next? And I'm on this journey, making sure that I leave a legacy for humanity. That's my journey. It's not about the fame. Fame comes whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. And it can sometimes be very uncomfortable.
Sure.
And a person who likes to be in solitude, it can be a challenge.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a good question. I don't really think about... what I really think about is the transition that I've made in the last few years from being a professional musician who performs to being a professional musician who has embraced teaching, which is something that I never expected that I would do. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that I had the ability to do so. Mm. And the reason I say that is because technically I'm an autodidact. I don't know anything about studying formally with music, and I've had a chance to play music, genres, all genres. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that I really enjoy is to visit different genres. Sure. Bluegrass, Donny Hathaway, of course, was, he had a soul that was unbelievable. Roberta Flack, pop, she made the transition from classical music to pop, and I was her first bass player to help her on her way. But I think I was raised by the great Shirley Horn, who was a very dear friend of Miles Davis, as am I, or was, of course. But he just had yesterday, I think it was, he'd be 100 years old on the thing on the 26th, something like that. Mm-hmm. But Shirley Horn, she raised me from a pup. When it comes to music, everything prior to playing the bass, music was a hobby. Right. It was a total hobby. Right. Piano was my first instrument, piano and drums. Mm-hmm. And by the time I reached the 4th grade, then the voice came in. Mm-hmm. And I sang in glee clubs, and that was a lot of fun. My director, John Hall, of course, I said to him, I said, Mr. Hall, I'd like to sing alto. Well, guess what? My voice was too high. You're 9 years old. Are you kidding? But what he saw a glimpse of musicality that I didn't know about at the time. And it all came to fruition, in terms of developing musically from junior high school all the way into high school. And high school really, at Anacostia High School in Washington, D.C., is where I really started to develop musically, because I played the marching band, playing the drums, which, that's the way you internalize your time. Sure. You're when you're walking in time, that's the amazing connection musically. And at the same time, I learned to play the organ. That changed everything. Mm. In a lot of ways, that's very similar to the drums because I'm using all 4 limbs. Right. And but most importantly, it's from my belief system. I'm a church person. I've always been involved with the church from the time I was a little tiny, even now. Right. So the organ was a very important part of my life because of the church.
Did you play in church?
Yes, I did. I practiced for hours at St. Philip's Episcopal Church in Anacostia, Washington, D.C. And it was pretty amazing, the development and how fast it happened. And, of course, later on, after about a year or so of really practicing and being tutored by some really fine organists that really came to play the services, I was able to play incidental music, which was like preludes, offerings, and postludes. So I prepared music like Chopin and Handel, and that was the beginning of my being a composer, because I was always improvising.
Got it.
And I was doing it classically, not jazz. No jazz on the organ. It was all church music, hymns, so forth and so on. So I think that was the very beginning of recognizing this high degree of musicianship. Although I was an autodidact, I've never studied a note of music in my life. And I feel very fortunate to have that gift. And there are a lot of musicians in the world that have that gift. So, to answer your question, I don't ever think about what I'm going to do or whatever. I just think, what can I do next? Not what I've done in the past.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about church music, but did you fall into, was it jazz first or a more general pop music styling, or how did you take on and discover a less secular type of music?
Well, I was exposed to such great music. My mother loved the music of Verdi and Puccini. I heard Marian Anderson live on the radio. I heard these musicians live. I heard Duke Ellington live.
Right.
This is World War II, post-war. I went to the Howard Theater in Washington, D.C. I heard Louis Armstrong. I heard everybody live, We had a Victrola, so we had records, and I had to change the needles, of course. The old 78s and so forth and so on. Right. But anyway, I was always exposed to really good music. Always. So, I think that's the real treasure for any musician, is to be exposed.
Yeah, but jazz seems to be something you carry in your pocket with so much ease. Worldwide, you're known as a jazz musician, but your resume belies that. You've spotted yourself in very comfortably in all sorts of genres and very successfully, I might add. But when did you become securely associated with jazz and vice versa?
I guess from the time I was, really listening to it, Nat Cole, and listening to this music live. In the middle 40s, we are, as African American people or black people, were not accepted in certain places. We had to sit in certain places in theaters or be rejected. But fortunately, in D.C., they put us in the balcony. The best place in the house.
Right.
Yeah. So when it comes to being exposed to jazz, I was always listening to it. And Nat Cole was an incredible piano player.
Right.
He influenced quite a few musicians. Oscar Peterson, and then the list goes on. But I've always been involved with the music. And of course, later on, when I picked up the bass, that's when I was able to really take the journey into orchestral music, which I absolutely adore. And the reason for that is the nature of my instrument. Because when I picked up the bass at age 23 and a half or 24 or whatever, I practiced with the bow for hours. No pizzicato. No. In fact, in the last couple of years, I've started to fool around pizzicato-wise, but that was not anything that I thought I needed to do because I was playing gigs, playing pizzicato, playing jazz. But I was playing with the bow all the time with the bow so that I could find my voice on the contrabass. I love the music of Beethoven. I love the music of Chopin, Mahler, Stravinsky. I love the music. I've had a chance to play the music of all these wonderful composers. And to have that kind of background technically on the instrument gives me the freedom to play any other genre of music that I wish to play.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in the orchestral music, there's this regimentation where the notes there are to be played.
Mm-hmm.
And if you miss, it's wrong.
Right.
In jazz, I term these notes sometimes as maybe undesirable because the next note you play could be a great correction of the note that you at prior. So,
mm-hmm.
and plus I'm playing from my heart
mm-hmm.
in a way that I'm not playing in orchestral music. However, once you're really deep inside of orchestral music, you're still playing from your heart because you have to figure, what did this composer think about this piece of music? How can you relate to his idea about this music that he has written?
Mm-hmm.
So you rely on the conductor to disclose that information to you in terms of how to approach this music. But
mm-hmm.
once I'm involved with orchestral music, I feel it as deeply as I feel when I'm playing jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it deeply.
It feels, and if I'm understanding your meaning, that when you're reading and playing music from centuries ago or decades ago, that you're having like a dialogue and actually communicating with those great composers from back in the day, whether it be from the 1920s or a composer from the 18th century.
I love the term standing on the shoulders of. Mm-hmm. See, I'm standing on the shoulders of so many musicians from the jazz world, that's so important. And that's the humbling lifestyle that I live, because I don't think about myself so much as I think about the musicians that preceded me. Mm-hmm. And Miles is just one of few. Mm-hmm. Just one of few. I think, had I not ever said anything about Miles Davis, who knows? Mm-hmm. I may not even be sitting here. Mm-hmm. He was a dear friend to start with.
I've read that he was very hard to work with, but you seem to have had a great relationship with him.
Well, Miles he had he had a very difficult life.
Mm-hmm.
Racism, jealousy,
mm-hmm.
You name it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everybody knows that he had a drug problem, like Charlie Parker and all those guys. They had that problem,
mm-hmm.
Which at the time they didn't see it as a problem because musically they were playing their hearts out.
Mm-hmm.
But look what it did to their bodies, and look what it did to the ultimate lifestyle that they lived after, leaving that element. But
mm-hmm.
And you say Miles he was very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very, very bright man.
Mm-hmm.
I have that. I kind of feel the same way. If you ask me a question that's kind of like, I'll have to say it's stupid. I have a tendency to sort of be as kind as I can.
Right. Well, you just let me know.
I don't think that's going to happen here. But when you get to be as famous as Miles Davis, people come up to you
mm-hmm.
with some really off-the-wall questions.
Sure.
A lot of the questions come because of the lack of common sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
He liked being alone.
Mm-hmm.
He liked being alone.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about your days with all these amazing artists on stage or in the studio, but when did you first realize that you could actually make a living with your gifts? And I'm not talking about, making it, as they say, but when did you understand that you could feed yourself by playing, that you wouldn't need a day job or a safety net job to fall back on?
The bass fiddle. When the bass fiddle came into my life. I had a family. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had been somewhat propagandized, not blatantly, but statements like, you're going to play music. What are you going to do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
Those statements would always come up. So that was part of the propaganda.
That's something that artists always deal with. Yeah. I think it's the same with all musicians starting out. People have guitars laying around that, that belong to Uncle Joe, and families have pianos in the living room, etc. But families don't usually have a bass guitar laying around in the basement.
You're absolutely right. And most often people look at the bass and call it a cello because they don't know the difference.
Playing the upright basses, you have, to the extent that you've, really become associated with it, I guess. But after the pop and rock musicians and R&B cats started having electric basses strapped to their chests almost exclusively, did you ever think about dipping your toes into that pond, or was the upright bass always the war charger you rode in on?
Well, I had an electric bass.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. I had an electric bass. But I sold it to a very dear friend, Charles Abels. Mm-hmm. He was a great guitarist from Washington, D.C. And when I left Shirley Horn, after, of course, she had raised several bass players, I said to her, have you ever played with the electric bass? And she says, no, I don't care to play with the electric bass. I want to play with stand-up. I said, you have not heard Charles Abels yet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I sold him the electric bass that I had for maybe $100. It was worth maybe $3,000 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I had no desire. It was a guitar.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And it only had one voice. Mm-hmm. And the only voice that you could maybe add to it would be some electronics.
Yeah.
But the bass, the upright bass, has got two voices. Mm-hmm. And that's what I always wanted to do. I figured, well, if I'm going to choose an instrument that has this high degree of responsibility musically, I want to focus on one, and that's the string bass. Because of the fact that it had two voices, that I could play an orchestra and I could do a lot of different things. Because even the early guys, I mean, like even in pop and of course country western, those guys have upright bass was there for a long time. Yeah, so.
You told me once that you've had many influential people in your life, playing a variety of instruments and styles. But who were your influences from the bass world, and how have your influences and tastes changed over the years in that regard?
Well, Paul Chambers was probably the first one. I remember my village. I mean, my journey to the village in New York from Washington, D.C. A good friend of mine, we decided to cut school and just go listen to the music. And, of course, it was Miles. And Paul Chambers was the bass player that really, he touched my heart deeply because he had changed the approach of playing the bass. It was so incredibly musical, and it had the ambiance of orchestral texture because of the way he played lines. He opened things up, where he could play lines.
Sure.
Yeah, so he was the first one. But later in life, it was before I even picked up the bass. I mean, this is like I'm 16 years old listening to Paul Chambers. Well, okay, I never picked up the bass until I was 24 years old. But there was another musician who influenced me, and that was Butch Warren, Washington, D.C., who was playing with Thelonious Monk at the time that Thelonious Monk made Time magazine. Right. Butch Warren was really one of my great mentors. He laid it on me. Yeah. I listened to other musicians or other instruments rather than just focusing on the string bass or having the string bass players be the ones to influence me the most. All the other instruments, like having the knowledge of the piano, I'm always listening to piano, always listening to the drummer. So in other words, the whole entire rhythm section is something that I'm always paying attention to. Not only that, even the guitar, which is part of the rhythm section. So those are the instruments that I really pay a lot of attention to outside of playing the bass. Because I want to understand how to accompany these instruments.
Sure.
So I want to know about them.
You've played with some great drummers, and do you think drummers have influenced you at all in your playing style?
Oh yeah. It's rare to hear a band without a drummer and for the music to make a lot of sense. Because in my mind's eye, jazz starts with the drummer.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And knowing how to play drums and understanding and having played with some of the great drummers in the world, bass players and drummers get married.
Sure.
That's a marriage.
Yep.
And we support everything.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the bass, once another instrument is added, such as a piano, and you have bass, piano, and drums, well, the bass is a fulcrum. We're that little vertical thing that houses a seesaw. We take care of everything, rhythmically and harmonically simultaneously, and we are not allowed to miss a note.
Right.
We do, but we've gotten the expertise to sort of cover it up or make music out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you miss a note. Sometimes you go, oh man.
Yeah.
You can't take it back.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah.
The bass, as I said earlier on in the conversation, the bass has such an incredible responsibility.
Yeah. The bass is funny because half the time the bass line is making the song pop, but a lot of people, if you ask them what it is they like so much about a song or why it moves them so much, they wouldn't be able to tell you that it's the bass line they're hearing that's making them fall into the groove of a piece of music, Yes,
that's true. I think that's what I really love about people who are not musicians. I love that because the one thing that I enjoy is transporting myself to being a layman. In other words, when I go listen to other musicians play, I listen to other musicians with zero criticism. I listen to musicians to be uplifted. I want these musicians to make me happy.
Mm-hmm. So
when I go in to listen to a musician, I'm not a bass player. I'm not a piano player. I'm just a listener. That's the fun.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy listening to other musicians as much, or sometimes even more, than playing myself.
Yeah.
But you learn. You learn a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
You and I were talking about mentors earlier, and I've had some incredible mentors in my life, and I've mentored people who've gone on to do some amazing things. How much responsibility do you yourself feel when you take on someone as a protege? How important is that relationship to you?
The most important thing about that relationship is how much can I learn from that student?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I roll. I want to know. I want to know what they know.
Right.
And I love that kind of exchange. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my prerequisites for teaching is, what do you know, student? Every generation, they have so much more at their disposal. They have so much more. Technology has given them so much information.
Mm-hmm.
But then by the same token, technology has robbed the memory. So, and music is memory based.
Mm-hmm.
So it really helps to save musicians who play music because they have so much there. They can just tap a button and all of a sudden they have information.
Sure.
But what I'm interested in, the information that I'm interested in from a student is some of the things they don't know about themselves. And that's where I go. Because they reveal things and they don't know they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So once I gather that information, when I'm able to teach them, I know what their needs are. And every student's different.
Mm-hmm. And
I always try to teach on the level that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I can take them places. But never, I don't want to exceed the speed limit with a student.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that I do with a student is to make sure that I can create this personality between the two of us where I'm on the same level that they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That puts them in a really nice comfort zone.
Idyllwild isn't just a scenic mountain town, it's a living gallery. The Art Alliance of Idyllwild supports local artists, funds youth art programs, and hosts world-class events that turn our town into an art lover's destination. Become a member, attend an event, or donate to support the arts. Follow us on Instagram at Art Alliance of Idyllwild, or visit artinidyllwild.org and be part of our creative community.
Every small town has that one special spot, a place where strangers become friends and friends share great times together. Idyllwild California has just that spot, Terrence Place Pub and Gallery, where live music and good company create amazing memories. We feature fine wines along with international and domestic tapped beers. Our vibe is welcoming, fun, and eclectic. Terrence Place Pub and Gallery is proud to be an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema. Come and experience the alpine charm of Terrence Place, located in the Village Lane in downtown Idyllwild, California. We invite you to stop by and have a great time.
Let us introduce you to Idyllwild's premier boutique inn, Harvey House, an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, featuring premium amenities and luxurious accommodations amidst the backdrop of the majestic San Jacinto Mountains. Situated on the banks of tranquil Strawberry Creek, Harvey House offers our guests perfectly appointed accommodations in which to relax, unwind, and enjoy yourself in privacy and style. Our professionally designed property lends an atmosphere of comfort and repose unmatched just about anywhere, making your stay most memorable indeed. Harvey House, Idyllwild, California. Find us at harveyhouseid.com.
Born out of creativity and desire, the Peak Restaurant and Bar at Hawkins Pines is a must-see experience for anyone visiting the beautiful alpine village of Idyllwild, California. Featuring a mix of local and international cuisine, the Peak Restaurant and Bar is the centerpiece of the Hawkins Resort. Set amid gorgeous mountain surroundings and miles of hiking trails, the Peak is unlike any other eatery around. And as an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, the Peak is home of the event's famous Filmmakers Village every year. The Peak Restaurant at Hawkins Pines Retreat. Come dine with us.
And you know, I've always looked at you as something of a mentor. You've always been sort of a mentor in life, and it's not just other musicians, but people I see you interact with on a daily basis. And where do you think that desire to give back so much comes from?
I think the greatest asset for me when I was in high school was, of course, Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954 was very, very difficult for me because I wasn't used to that kind of, I wasn't used to being rejected in that manner. I knew that, racism was around, it was there, of course. I mean, but as a little kid, you don't know it as much as you don't feel it as much as you do when you're more of an adult. And so high school to me was boring because most of my friends, because of the church, most of my friends when I was 15, 16, so they were in their 30s, 35, 40 years old.
Right, yeah.
And these are the people that I related to because that's how I was raised. I was raised in a very spiritually elderly family, different than speaking chronologically, although they were, but there was a deep spirit in the family that raised me, and that's the family that actually adopted me. So that has a lot to do with the documentary Beyond the Bass. That's a story in itself.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this documentary that's being put together about your life. What can you tell us about it to this point?
Well, we've taken a lot of data. I mean, a lot of live performances of my orchestra, Seahawk Modern Jazz Orchestra, at the Academy, of course, and there's a lot of data that's been rendered and volunteered from people that I've grown up with. One of them is Earl Taylor, who lives in lives in L.A., and he's from Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of my early students, and we've been friends for a very long time. And whenever I go to his house, he just turns on a recorder, and we just talk.
Mm.
And he's got a lot of stuff in terms of my early days in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow, that's a find.
It's really, really, it's wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah, so as terms of performances, that's all been pretty much taken care of. I mean, we got more than we need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get a lot of help from the Carimu Foundation, International Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
That's Marianne Kinstole, who was head of school at Idyllwild Arts.
Mm-hmm.
She's the founder of Carimu, which that organization took me to Tanzania in 2017, 18, and 19, which changed my life forever.
That had to be an amazing trip.
It changed my life forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I realized in 2017, I realized that I could actually walk away from the base.
Mm-hmm.
I could walk away from the base.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really thought about walking away from music, but I knew that I could walk away from the bass. In 2017, that was the first time I'd been away from the bass 3 weeks. And I'm saying, what's going to happen here? And when I got back home, I hadn't lost anything but just endurance. But musically, man, what? I had so much subject matter going on because of the experience in Tanzania, what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw people who absolutely had nothing, comparatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But they had love and respect for one another, and how they respected their elders, man, just knocked my socks off.
That's great.
And I came back to America angry, very angry, because we didn't have that here. We still don't.
Mm-hmm.
We don't take care of the elders.
Right.
You know, that's worse than burning the books.
Of course. Yeah.
The elders have the information.
Mm-hmm.
So that changed my life. I mean, like I said, I realized that I could walk away from the bass, but of course I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It just made it easier for me to be more creative musically, of having been to Tanzania, especially that first year.
Yeah.
And then the following 2 years were just amazing, because I went there as a volunteer to help build classrooms and do all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I helped to I raised money to help build a maternity ward, which is now a hospital with minor surgery, you know. And, of course, Marianne Kinstole and her husband, Don, were the founders of Carimu. And the life expectancy when they first started their organization was probably in the late 40s, maybe early 50s. But now the life expectancy in those villages now is almost 60.
Wow.
Because of medicine, you know, and education and so forth and so forth and so forth and so on. And, of course, their 501c3 is considered number one in America because of transparency. You know, when you go to Africa, when people go to Africa, a lot of them just throw the money over the fence and walk away and pin on a merit badge.
Sure, yeah.
But they're there. They're there. Whatever they do, they're there helping the people. They bring things and teach the people how to use it, how to maintain it. And the water project was huge. The water project came in and was able to service more than 15,000 people. And now all of the surrounding villages are coming to Marianne and all those guys and saying, "Oh, me too, me too, me too."
Right.
So they're growing, you know. And of course, the first year I went with Marianne, I said, "You know, you're upstaging the government. Now watch your back."
Yeah, of course.
But the job that they have done was so well done that the government helps now.
That's good.
Because they realize that, wow, whatever we wanted to do, we missed that opportunity. We can't get rid of them now.
That's funny. But seriously, to be able to take time off from your work and, let's face it, from your life, to go to a foreign country and do such great things, humanitarian things, that has to be pretty inspiring.
Well, basically, I was just walking back into my beginning. Yeah, that's what it was. I've always been one as a young child to astro travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to think and astro travel places I've never been, and when I get there, I'm going, aha, aha. It was what I had envisioned.
Right.
You know, that's quite a phenomenal experience to say the least. You know, but no, going back to Africa is going back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's face it, you've always been a philanthropic and humanitarian type of guy, but to be able to change the lives of thousands of people like that, lives of people you may never see or meet, that had to have been pretty exciting.
It is, and I think I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one thing I think about a lot. The lives that you're changing, that you'll never see their faces. That's my journey. That's the journey. You know, leaving that legacy for humanity. I've not focused. You know, obviously, I've not focused on CDs or anything like that. You don't see anything because why? I just decided that rainbow was not the applicable thing for me to do. To chase the rainbow. You know, it's just a mere vapor. I like the real thing. I like something that's really tangible. And you're only on this earth for a short time, and you have to, you know, do the best that you can. You know, just to invest in this wonderful thing that you have, better known as time, which you have very little of.
Sure.
And when I speak of time, that's one of the most important properties of music. Is time, how it makes you feel. How it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And when it's on time, you know. Yeah. When I came back to the United States, it has been different ever since. I didn't come back to the same place. I came back to a different place. A place that heightened the value of my journey.
Right.
Yeah. Or I'll say it a little better, the value of the journey. You know, taking myself out of the equation, the journey. Because that's how I feel about music. It's not my music, it's the music.
Sure.
Yeah.
The jazz program at Idyllwild Arts, when you and I were talking earlier today, before the podcast, you said you were going to make a decision as to whether or not you were going to continue as head of that program, which was kind of surprising to me because you basically created the whole thing. And my question is, how would you choose the person to take over that? I mean, to fill your shoes, if you will. That seems a rather daunting task.
Good question. Under the auspices of selflessness, there are several students and admirers that have taken on this program that are doing a job that has exceeded all of my expectations. So I'm very comfortable with that in terms of how that program will continue and and how it will sustain. I'm very confident that it will, you know, because there are so many people in place already. And I'm
thanks to you have already started bringing people up.
Well, not me personally, but the people that were hired. It's part of the journey, you know. I call it divine intervention. Yeah, I take it right back to the church. It's divine intervention. What is supposed to happen happens. Like I said, when I thought about the idea of retiring, I dismissed it because I will always dismiss that idea, that notion. However, this next year is a year that I'll be priming myself for moving on for whatever I do. But this is a quote. I will always be affiliated with the Idyllwild Arts Academy's program. I'm just the founder. That's all. I'm just the founder. And the way the music is being taught is the way I started it. And it's fine because a lot of my students are the ones that are carrying the ball.
Right. Well, for those of our listeners who aren't aware or fully aware, the Idyllwild Arts Academy is a very, again, prestigious high school for the performing arts, and their academics are very high. You can't just go in and be a great piano player or actor or whatever. You gotta have some book learning.
Oh yeah, and they put a lot of emphasis on that, and as do I. And I think my relationship with my students exudes that, because I'm in their faces.
I'm sure.
When you walk in my class, I know you want to be here. But what about your academics? Are you going to have the knowledge to sustain a successful professional career? You see, in a lot of ways, I'm a victim of that, because I grew up in an era where, knowing how to do certain things when you become famous or become successful, I just didn't have that information. I got some now, but just think, if I had it earlier, who knows? But it's very important, just in case some of these kids who are musicians and artists and decide to do something else, they're ready.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I've always spoken in lectures about doctors, lawyers, and musicians. The one thing that we have in common is called a practice.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the great musicians that I've ever played with are doctors and lawyers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny when you see athletes, I think that's where the fault is at the most highest level, when you allow a kid to be a great, let's say, football or basketball player, but you don't teach him how to balance a checkbook, And people like you come along and say, yeah, being a great artist isn't where it stops. You've got to be able to continue, because if you can't continue and you're dying of overdoses or whatever, you're cheating the people who love you out of more creativity.
Yeah. That's so well said.
Yeah, I think it's and whenever I've talked to you about teaching, again, we'll go back to our conversations about, I don't consider myself, I'm not an educator like you are, I just have some skill sets, but I think that too often it just stops at, okay, that person's great, they've been practicing in their bedroom for 10 years, all through their teens, and now they're ready to go out there, but they don't know how to, again, just basic finances. They don't know how to say no to, culture of drugs and alcohol. And I think you've always, when we go back to mentorships, I've always known you to be somebody who makes sure that young people have all that ammunition and information.
Well, I think for me, my journey was very different, because I became a professional musician about 6 months after I picked up the string bass. I was in it.
It's meant to be.
Total culture shock. Total culture shock. I mean, I'm like, wow. And, of course, the people that mentored me were really very serious about my choices. My choices. So I had a chance to bear witness to my mentors like Paul Chambers and a lot of the musicians that used drugs, and they used all this stuff, and they shook their fingers at me and said, no, man, don't do this. Don't do this. And
you saw a lot of it firsthand.
I saw a lot of it firsthand. And the one thing that I enjoy about life is obedience, no matter where it comes from. If somebody says something to you that carries a lot of weight, pay attention. Pay attention, because they're saying things to you, and oftentimes it's terms of endearment. They're not criticizing you or anything like that, but they're saying, hey, this is something you don't want to do. Yeah, and I got that a lot because they heard my heart. Right. They heard my heart long before I did. And to get back to the point is that I became so incredibly successful at a very early time as a musician. I mean, really. 6 months I'm with Shirley Horn. And then 4 years later, while I'm practicing, and I'm saying to myself, well, in 10 years I want to be able to play with Miles Davis. Well, it happened in 4 years.
Right.
total culture shock.
You've always had a discipline, though, and I know that your teaching instills that as well. But just becoming good at an instrument takes discipline. And artists, sometimes they're not able to take that into the rest of their life. They have the discipline to practice and become great, but they don't have that same discipline in controlling urges and all those things in life. Young people have to make mistakes. That's just the way it is. But
that's a great point. Well, just to add to, when it comes to teaching, like for an example, this is a good example. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of musicians that play really, really well, but they can't teach. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of musicians that don't play very well and are excellent teachers. Right. And then there are some that can do both.
Sure.
And so I just feel fortunate to have been able to do both.
Yeah, well, that's funny. There's that old adage, those who can do, those who can't teach. But you've done both of them successfully.
Right.
It's very rare.
Yeah, and it is humbling.
Yeah,
I don't take it for granted. I'm very grateful, especially for moments like this where you get a chance to share this information to the faces and the people that you may never see. Mm-hmm. I think that's
Well, a lot of the filmmakers who will be coming to the Idyllwild Film Festival next March, and in the past festivals as well, but people listen to this podcast. We have a lot of filmmaker listeners, and people are going to want to talk to you. You'll be around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just to be able to take the time and just, talk to young, no matter what their artistic avenue is that they're taking, you're the kind of person that can reach across those lines.
That's going to be pretty exciting. I'm excited about doing just that.
Well, you're going to work for it too, because you'll be watching some movies and judging some music. And I'm really looking forward to this. And speaking of festivals, the Idyllwild Jazz Festival, it's been on a bit of a hiatus of sorts the past few years. COVID, of course, put the kibosh on everything. The film festival had to go virtual. I mean, we were just online for 2 years, but we never stopped it, But I'm wondering, the Jazz Festival is such a part of Idyllwild, and where do you see the future of that? It's how many years now has it kind of laid low, and when will it pop back?
Okay, now that's a really deep question.
I'm here to hear it, to hear the answer.
Jazz in the Pines was very successful for 30 solid years. Mm-hmm. I had an opportunity to say yay or nay. Mm-hmm. I literally pulled the plug and said, okay, Jazz in the Pines has been successful for more than 30 years. Let's go out on a high note. Mm-hmm. There was a moment during that whole process where Jazz in the Pines was still just rolling beautifully. Mm-hmm. But there was one thing that happened that that troubled me. And I wanted to make sure that Idyllwild, the town of Idyllwild, could be a part of the festival as much as just being at the school. Mm-hmm. Well, I got pushback. Mm-hmm. I got pushback. I got people pushed back. They didn't get it. Mm-hmm. They didn't get it. Mm-hmm. So I had to go with cease and desist for 3 years, and took music to town, and it was very successful. Joanne's was still here then. Joanne's, the restaurant.
Oh, the restaurant. Yeah.
I took music to Joanne's. I'd told her to be ready. Mm-hmm. It was so many people; it was unbelievable. They weren't ready for it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But I mean, this is a story that I've not told, to the public, but. My mission was to make sure that the music was throughout Idyllwild. Well, guess what? It is. Mm-hmm. So I got a really beautiful plaque from the school that states all about that. But in the last phrase, it says, mission accomplished. Mm. How many places in Idyllwild is playing music?
Right.
The festival is still here. Mm-hmm. It's still here, but guess what? The local musicians now are the beneficiaries.
Sure, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to happen. And it's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still going.
It's funny because you talk about getting pushback from. I don't deal well with committees at all. So people come to me and I've been asked for years now, can I, especially now that the Butterfield Amphitheater has been built in Idyllwild, beautiful facility, and people keep coming up to me and, you need to start a music festival there. And I'm not a festival guy. I make movies and I just happen to own a film festival, but I don't really run it. I'm like you were the face of the jazz festival, but a lot of people were behind the scenes and making it successful, and I always like to acknowledge that. But I just think that if there's ever a chance for the jazz festival to become what it was, and I don't think it'd be that tough, but it's going to take somebody with energy like yours. And if you were talking about maybe retiring, maybe not, but I mean, that's got to be a tough thing for you too, to lay something aside like that, knowing it was at the height of its powers. Well,
yes and no. By virtue of the fact that there's so much music going on in Idyllwild right now, it's, that pleases me, because the musicians here, the local musicians, are able to make a living. And that's a good thing. We have like 4 or 5 venues that have music all the time. Prior to the festival, it didn't.
Yeah.
I noticed the very first year of the festival, the very first one, there were several businesses that suffered because it was in August, and that was a big holiday. Well, everybody was in town. Every day, everybody in town was out there. At the there
school.
There was nobody in town, and a couple of people lost their businesses. And I saw that immediately. I said, no, we can't. We got to take this music to town. That's the first year I saw it, and I started working on it from that point, just to make sure that Idyllwild would be,
Well, that's the reason that I started the film festival, was for town. I don't make any money off the film festival. That's not what it's for. It's been a resume builder for me. I go to get jobs as directors in TV and commercials, and I was working for Taylor Sheridan, staff writing for Yellowstone. And the first day I met him and his crew, he looked at my resume and he said, "You own the Idyllwild Film Festival?" And I went, "Wow, that's kind of pretty cool. Of all the things on my resume, I'd like you to look at a couple of other things." But he was very excited about that. He'd heard about it. And the Jazz Festival was going even longer. We're going into our 18th year at the Film Festival. The Jazz Festival is in its 3rd decade. And so anything I could ever do to help you or whoever you point me in the direction of, whatever I could do to bring it back. But I agree with you. I think having it in town at that new amphitheater opens up everything. This town, small towns in general can be a little apathetic. We offer a locals pass that hasn't changed price since year one. It's $25 for the whole week for a local, and they don't sell as many as I think they should be selling. And that's too bad, but that's neither here or there. Our real clientele is from out of Idyllwild. It's people from all over the United States and worldwide. And I appreciate that, but I try to wrangle them to get to the businesses in town, and it's become quite successful because people get hungry, they need to eat, people need a place to sleep. So the hotels and restaurants do great during the film festival, but also the little shops. I want people, I ask the merchants, come to the theater, come to our main theater is the Rustic right downtown, bring flyers. Bring little pamphlets, bring whatever, get people out. So we're actually going to lessen the number of films we start showing. Starting in next March, we're going to show fewer films. Where we were at like 150 films for the week, we're going to be down to about 90 to 100, so that we can have more space between screenings so people can get out there and appreciate the town. And I think that's... maybe me, I got a bit of an ego like anybody else, and I went, how many movies can I squeeze into this week? But I don't think it really serves the filmmakers to be have that type, but also the town. I think that's one change coming up this next year that I'm really happy about.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
The festival, the one thing about Jazz in the Pines that was of great value was there were a lot of there were a lot of people that were volunteers, and a lot of them were real estate people. And I knew that bringing people to Idyllwild would really help real estate, and it did.
Sure. Yeah.
I knew it from the beginning. I knew it from the very, very beginning. I said, okay, this is going to work. You're going to bring people here who've never seen this town.
Isn't that funny how you saw that? Because
I
noticed after the third or fourth year of the film festival, people would come up here for the film festival. They'd end up buying homes here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I saw it. But, let's talk about the real beginning. The real beginning was with Dwight Buzz Holmes, who allowed me to bring jazz to Idyllwild in 1983.
How was he instrumental in that?
Were you here then?
Yes, I was. Well,
yeah.
I've kind of been raised in Idyllwild.
Okay, so you kind of know about that. Yeah, that was Richie Cole and Jeff Tower with the Hemet High School Band.
That's right. Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Yes, that was the first one, because I was involved with an organization called the Idyllwild International Jazz Institute. And Bill Plummer was one of the members.
Bill Plummer.
Yes, and he was one of the people that made it easy for me to stay here. We became very close friends.
He was a great man.
Yes, he was a great musician.
When I was a kid, that guy was like, he was the ball.
He was a great musician.
Yeah.
In fact, I looked at some of the music that he gave me. I'm looking at it. I looked at it just the other day, and I think about him. But yeah,
that guy toured with the Stones.
Yeah.
He was like you, though. You guys just are kind of quiet, and just nobody knows.
Just doing it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
But whatever, just the fact that you were so instrumental in getting it started, I think if nothing else, just to have you kind of pull it up by its, bootstraps a little bit and get it. I'd love to see the jazz festival thrive again like it did.
It'll be different. If so, it's going to be different. Logistics is going to be a very important part of it, because people are going to be wanting to see those parachutes.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's going to take a lot of collaboration between the institution and the town, which is very important to have that connection between Idyllwild Arts and the town.
Marshall's talking about out at Idyllwild Arts Academy itself, where that amphitheater is, where the jazz festival was. They would hang these very colorful parachutes off of these huge trees to provide shade, and it became sort of the visual representation of the jazz festival. And maybe the amphitheater could figure that out. Never know.
But I think the main thing is to have the music going on all over town.
Yeah.
Day and night.
Yeah. In New Orleans, the few times I've been to New Orleans, the music just never stops.
It never stops.
Every bar, every restaurant,
it's going.
Every street corner.
Yeah.
And the diversity of musicians. I've never seen so many different races and nationality play in the same bands as you see in New Orleans.
Yeah. Well, I had the same experience in Bremen, Germany, when I was invited by the Goethe Institute to represent the United States, Jazz in the Pines, and of course Idyllwild Arts Academy, where I was in the company of more than 37 countries, and we were all people who were producing jazz in our respective countries and whatever. So that was quite a journey, whereby I saw people in bands where one guy would be from Australia, another guy from Italy, and so forth and so on. The music was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you get so many different influences and cultures playing together. It's got, Cuban music has a lot of that too, but more recently than at the beginning. But you see a lot of, when you go to Miami, you see a lot of that. The Cuban musicians playing with people from Germany and Japan and things like this. It's interesting how people mix it up. But I didn't want this conversation to sound like this was what's that award, they give people the lifetime achievement. I didn't want that to sound like this today because Marshall's still out there, and so this guy's not. He's not in the twilight of his career. You play a lot of gigs even now. You're playing with some of the best musicians. We're talking about musicians from Idyllwild. There are guys here that you have a standing gig every Tuesday night at Faro Restaurant, which is restaurateur Frank Faro, who's a great friend of both mine and Marshall's. And Frank's one of those guys who pushes music all the time. And you do a Tuesday night gig at Faro in Idyllwild with some great musicians, including Barnaby Finch, Paul Carmen, the sax player, great sax player. I believe he played with Frank Zappa, and just an amazing, and Barnaby he's just legendary.
Everybody, George Benson.
Yeah, George Benson.
Yeah,
that's
10
right.
years, yeah.
And anyway, you've still got that gig going on, and people just turn out. You still seem to have a lot of passion for playing out in front of people. What do you think drives you after all these years? Is it passion, or is it just you don't know any other way?
Well, I wouldn't put it on. It is passion. The word that comes up is a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Copland wrote a piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's entitled "Our Town."
Yeah.
I love that piece of music. It's repetitious. The melody repeats, but the harmony changes. He reharmonizes the melody as it goes on. But it's like a chant, and that's how I feel it. This is our town, not my town. Our town.
Right.
Okay, and that makes it easy for me to still be a part of that. Barnaby and Paul, we've been together close to 24 years.
Right.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, we got quite a book. I mean, of course, Barnaby's been gone a lot, so we've not been able to play a lot of the music that we have in our book. But it's pretty amazing, the mix between the three of us. We're coming from three different places.
Mm-hmm.
And
but also when, like Barnaby, like you said, he does travel. He has a place in New York, so he's there a lot. But he's an Idyllwild champion, just like you and I are, of the town itself. But you still bring in other great musicians when Barnaby's not available.
Sure.
And I always find that fascinating to watch you and your interaction with other musicians at different times. But you're the vibe. When people walk in, it's like, I'm not the only one who thinks this. When people walk in, it's like, that's a Marshall vibe. And so no matter who you're playing with, I'm not going to say you raise everybody to a level. They're all great musicians, but you raise the vibe to a level where people feel, wow, I'm seeing some incredible musicianship here. Well,
it's one thing that I teach, and it's one word with my students: consistency.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that drives you. If you keep seeing this person, you know that this person is committed.
Sure.
You know where their heart is, because they've not let you down. They're always there.
That's a great way to put it.
They're always there.
They don't let you down.
They don't. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you've got a busy afternoon ahead, and I've kept you longer than I was thinking I would, but I just can't believe you're sitting here. But if people want to know more about you, just in your current projects, your music now, are you a social media guy, or what's the best way for fans to keep an eye on you?
I am not a social media person, but I do have a lot of help. And Casey Abrams is doing something. We had
speaking of great musicians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We had an interview, and he's going to edit some footage about the documentary, which is very important because some of the proceeds will be going to Tanzania, will be going to Karamu.
That's awesome.
And so, and of course, as I said earlier on, I will always be affiliated with the Idyllwild Arts Academy as long as I'm alive. Mm-hmm. Whether I retire from the music, it does not matter. I'm always going to be affiliated with that institution.
Mm.
Yes.
That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, at the Idyllwild Festival in March 2nd through the 7th, I believe, are the dates this coming year, 2027. Marshall will be on hand as much as he can, and I know a lot of people are going to want to talk to you, but I'm going to make a big deal about you, so I hope it doesn't embarrass you too much. But well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Stephen Savage Show. I want to thank all of our regular listeners who keep our numbers flying high on all platforms, as well as the newer folks who are finding us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music, on and on, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. So you people are much appreciated. So for our executive producer, Steve Tuma, engineer Maurice Sudo, and the entire Radio Free Idyllwild team, as well as for Dr. Marshall Hawkins and myself, thank you for listening in, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much, Marshall.
Thanks, Steve.
For over 70 years, the historic Rustic Theater and Entertainment Center in Idyllwild, California, has been the home for movies and live events for all of the communities that encompass the San Jacinto mountain range. And as the forever home of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, the Rustic has played host to some of the greatest indie films from around the world, as well as blockbuster first-run movies and music and comedy events. And the Idyllwild Festival has been proud to call the Rustic its home base since 2010. So, whether you're in Idyllwild for the film festival, hiking or rock climbing, or just exploring the beautiful mountain village of Idyllwild, California, make sure to add the Rustic Theater to your list of must-visit spots. For a beer or fine wine at the Rustic Tavern, a tasty meal from the snack bar, or just a great movie date or family night out, the Rustic Theater and Entertainment Center is the right choice in Idyllwild. Pop in and say hello.
At Pure Bean Coffee, Idyllwild California's premier boutique coffee house, our passion is roasting the highest quality coffee for the most discerning coffee lovers. Our beans are ethically sourced and hand-selected from the world's finest coffee regions. You will notice the enhanced flavor nuances and low acidity with your very first taste. And as a proud sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, it's our wish to make the best impression possible on filmmakers and attendees from around the globe. So whether it's your first cup in the morning, a midday pick-me-up, or an evening taste of excellence to top off your day, always remember, we at Pure Bean love coffee as much as our customers do.
It's cool, it's hip, and it's where Idyllwild goes for burgers, fries, sub-sandwiches, ice cream, and more. Atomic Cow, downtown Idyllwild, California. Official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema. Fast, fierce, and filmmaker friendly. Be there or be square. Atomic Cow.
Woodland Park Manor, one of Idyllwild, California's best-known and beloved lodging destinations, is a rustic treat for the casual overnighter or vacation traveller. With its many unique rooms and cottages and that special hideaway feel, Woodland Park Manor gives new meaning to the word relaxation. Nestled among the tall pines and centuries-old oak trees, the manor says Idyllwild the moment you enter the property. As a sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema since year one, all festival attendees are treated like family, because that's what you are to the proprietors. Woodland Park Manor, Idyllwild, California. Book your room now and tell them you're coming for the festival. You will love it.
Idyllwild, California is known for its many quaint shops, but none is more quaint or special than Shala Tea Company in downtown Idyllwild. With a wide variety of regional, international, and exotic blends to choose from, Shala is more than just a tea shop. It's an experience for the soul. As an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, Shala Tea Company offers a discount for all festival badge holders. And what film festival journey would be complete without just the right tea bag in your travel cup? Shala Tea Company, Idyllwild, California. Experience it.
No small mountain village would be complete without its favorite local breakfast spot. And the Red Kettle restaurant in Idyllwild, California is just that place. As Idyllwild's premier downtown breakfast and lunch restaurant, the Red Kettle is exactly what you'd expect. Great food, friendly service, and quaint small-town charm, the Red Kettle is the heart of Idyllwild's village life. And as an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, all festival badge wearers are treated to a 10% discount on every order. The Red Kettle Restaurant, Idyllwild, California. Home-style cooking all year round.
Looking for great Mexican cuisine in Idyllwild, California? Look no further than La Casita, Idyllwild's #1 spot for authentic Mexican fare, serving up both traditional and north-of-the-border specialties. La Casita is also famous for its great beer and wine selection, and the best margaritas to be found anywhere. La Casita, an official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Film Festival, and simply the best Mexican food around.
Going for a hike and just want the best beef or vegan jerky on the planet before you hit the trail? Then Coyote Red's Idyllwild, California is where your search comes to an end. We offer a variety of premier natural foods, including our world-famous House of Jerky brand, barbecue sauces, hot sauces, treats, sweets, and so much more. An official sponsor of the Idyllwild International Festival of Cinema, we are located right downtown at the Fort, directly across from Idyllwild Park. Coyote Red's is where your search for the best beef or vegan jerky on the planet comes to an end.
Thank you for listening to Radio Free Idyllwild, the official music and podcast station for Idyllwild, California, the San Jacinto Mountains, and beyond.